Hey everyone, it's me, Jessica, your health fitness program manager from McLean, here with Fred and Uncle Buck to guide you through a great yin yoga practice today. So we're still keeping, Fred, I promise I'll give you some peanuts. We're still keeping the focus of today's class on a lot of lower body stretches, particularly finding some openness of the hips. Been doing a little research, and apparently the hips are a place that we tend to store a lot of our stuffed down emotions. I know it sounds like a really odd place for it to go, but where it is, that's where it ends up. And having tight hips can lead to lower back issues, and if you've never been to a Bikram class, then you might not have heard the saying that a happy spine is a happy life. So I'm just going to work to open up those hips, to keep our backs feeling good, to focus on our breath, keep our mind feeling awesome. I really recommend you bring some props to today's class because you know how it is. We're going to hold postures for a little bit longer, especially some of the hip openers. You might think about having a block under your hands if reaching towards the floor, and a hip opener is a challenge for you. And we have a extended, very wide kneed child's pose coming up, where I recommend having a bolster, which I recognize most people don't have. So think about getting your chunkiest couch pillow, or maybe like 2 pillows that you can create some awesome space under your belly to be supported on the floor. What are we starting out in today, you say? Oh, we're gonna start out in one of my favorite postures, deer pose, to get started with. That's when we have both of our legs in 90-90. So we've got about 1 minute till we get started. Feel free to create the space that feels good for you, bribe your children and your pets, turn on some relaxing music. Make sure you're dressed comfortably. I like to be a little warm for yin, so I'll probably put a sweatshirt on. But make sure that whatever you're wearing is nice and loose, comfortable, so that you can find some, danger. So you can find a little bit of mobility. Make sure you put something on that fits comfortably, so that you don't find yourself messing with your clothes the whole time. Oh my gosh, many pardons. And if your shirt rides up, or if your pants start to roll down, and you're home by yourself, let it go, okay? Great. It's 4:30. Got a little long sleeve-ish, something here. I lost the timers again. Why? How? Yay, thank yourself for coming. Grab some water if you want it. Keep that water nearby, even though we won't have any really specific water breaks. Minty fresh breath just for you. Okay, so we're starting off in deer pose today, coming into a little 90-90. I have my left leg with the sole of the left foot touching on the right thigh bicep. Think about having the inner sole of your right foot towards the floor. You can even, we're gonna be a little bit more active in the beginning of this posture, so if you feel some discomfort, especially as you kind of twist towards that left leg, give yourself some time right now and just massage it out. Massage it out as you start to just come into your breath for the day. We're gonna spend about 2 more minutes here. I know, typically in yin, I ask you to be as still as possible. We're gonna have plenty of time for that throughout the rest of class. Y'all know I love me some personal massage. Oof. So just kind of kneading into any of those tight or uncomfortable spaces, and really start using that breath. Also see if you can work to relax that right glute a little closer towards the floor. Really focus on starting to slow that breath down. So you're maybe like rubbing it out. Give yourself some delightful little punches. Oof, feels really good. But don't beat yourself up, because you're awesome and you're here. We got one more minute, and then we're gonna come into sleeping swan. So if you're doing, so if you're doing the same thing as me, and you have your left leg forward and that right leg back, and in just a couple more breaths, we're going to send that right leg back behind us. This is amazing. Why don't I do this all the time? I don't know. Deep thoughts. So do a little scan of your body from head to toe right now, and just notice where you're feeling tension. Feel any tension in your ankles, in your knees? Do you feel it in your hips? Maybe in your glutes? Maybe you store your tension in your belly or your back. Typical to store it in your shoulders, or even feel tired and feel it in your face. All right, we're gonna turn towards that front leg, and you're just gonna work to extend your back leg behind you. You can have this front leg be parallel with the top of your mat if that feels good. And if that's too much of a stretch for you, go ahead, fold it in. Take your time, relax and release yourself down towards the floor. Think about working to get your right hip flexor a little bit more towards the mat, as opposed to putting a lot of weight into that left glute and having that right hip flexor be really open. So we're bringing our chest down towards the mat. Relax your shoulders. You can allow your head to hang heavy. Just keep breathing. This stretch might be a little bit more intense for you already. So again, start that scan of your body from head to toe. Use your inhale for awareness. Notice if you're creating any additional tension throughout your body. And really use your exhale to send oxygen, send light and love and air into those spaces to help create a little extra light and love and air and space, physically and mentally. Start working towards extending your breath, making your exhale minimally 4, but delightfully 6 seconds if you can. Maybe a pause at the top before you slowly exhale all that air out, as long as hopefully longer than your inhale. You got 1 minute left right here. So now, just like traditional yin, we're just working to find that stillness. And just noticing how our bodies feel today and honoring that every day is different. Each side of our body is different. Letting go of any expectations that you might have for what your body is going to or can do for today's class, and just enjoying whatever it does bring. Let's take 2 more breaths right here. Go ahead, use your next exhale to come back up onto your hands, palms. If you propped onto your forearms, we're going to sit back onto our glutes. Take a moment in Sukhasana. So easy pose. Maybe you want to keep your legs spread out. Maybe you want to go for cross-legged. We're just going to take 1 minute sitting in stillness in our breath to just allow those first 2 postures to soak in. Feel free to close your eyes. Remember that if your eyes are moving, your mind is moving. So either finding a soft, relaxed focus or gaze in one spot, or closing your eyes to eliminate the temptation. Last 2 breaths right here. Nice work. Take your time. Let's come into deer pose on the opposite side. So this time folding our right leg in, bringing the sole of the right foot as close to the left thigh bicep as possible. You can lean over to the right as you fold that left leg in. See if you can keep the inner sole of the foot flat on the floor. It's going to give you a little bit more of a stretch into your glute, especially as you sit down towards that left side, and then start to massage it out. I'm going to stick with these little delightful punches. Sorry, I didn't realize to the beginning, the last minute on the other side, how great these feel. Obviously, I don't have the newest trend of Theragun, but I hear they're amazing. Oof. Oh, wow. Oh, we're doing great, y'all. We're about halfway through massaging this leg, and then we're going to come into sleeping swan on this side as well. Make sure you're still enjoying those big, deep breaths, especially if you're really feeling it, by giving your back leg a little bit more of a massage here. Sometimes when things feel really awesome, or when you're focusing on the sensation, or when you're creating a really big feeling, it can be easy to hold your breath. So just keep your primary focus today. Breath first, posture second, last minute right here. This will be the only posture we're doing today where we're not creating complete stillness. So get those spilkies out while you can. Shake your sillies out. Get weird. Do what feels good for 30 more seconds. Ooh, keep that breath going. Stretch is feeling real big at the end here. You're worth it. And you've got about 2 slow breaths left. All right, let's come into sleeping swan on the opposite side. So once again, just going to extend your back leg. Remember, no expectations. We love the second side as much as we love the first side, no matter what it brings to our practice today. We're working to get that left hip a little closer towards the floor, as opposed to the real focus of the right glute coming towards the floor and opening up. So feel free to apply a little pressure of your elbows down and towards the mat to get some support for your lower back. Just breathe it out right here. Just notice where you're feeling the stretch. Does it feel the same on this side as it did on the other? Probably not. It's very unlikely for you to be equally as tight. We typically do have one side that's a little bit tighter, maybe that we lean towards. Maybe you've had injury on one side of your body and not the other. Relax those eyes. stick with your slow, steady breath. Do that total body scan of head to toe. Notice if you're bringing any additional tension into your face, into your shoulders, into your hands or your feet. Relax those spaces as much as you possibly can. Just enjoy these big, hopefully noticeable stretches in the glute and hip region. As we move throughout today's practice, remember you are working to come towards a noticeable stretch. If at any point during the stretch it starts to feel too noticeable, if it goes from something that you're aware of to something that feels painful, especially sharp pain, I encourage you to take a couple steps back, come back to your breath. If you felt something so deep and it was scary, take a moment, lay down in Savasana. This is your practice. You're here. That's all that matters. Whatever you do today is what you were meant to do, and it is enough. Let's take 2 more breaths right here. I feel very un-yoga-like. I just killed a bug. All right, take your time. We're slowly going to come back onto our glutes. Maybe you want to go for a slightly different seated position this time. We'll spend 1 minute right here again, just coming back towards our stillness, towards our breath. Maybe you already feel a little bit more opening within your hips, within your glutes, just taking a moment to allow that blood to circulate, helping to break down any tightness, any scars. All right, take your time, move with intention. We're going to come into tabletop next. Just taking a moment in tabletop, we'll pass through here a couple times if you want to give yourself a couple little shimmies or shakes or cat-cows. Next up, we've got dragon pose. I'm going to take a moment, tuck my hips in. So a big hip opener. We've done this one many times before. You might want to bring some blocks forward with you if reaching down towards the floor is a challenge. We've got 3 minutes in our hip opener. So step your left foot forward. Start to release those hands down towards the floor. Maybe you're staying upright with your hands on the block and that belly coming towards your thigh. Try to take the rounding out of your back if you stay upright here. Enjoy the big opening of your hips, maybe even a little bit of a stretch in your quad depending on how tight you are. If you don't feel anything from up there, think about coming a little bit lower. You can always bring that right arm inside. But remember, we're working to find a sustainable stretch. We've got 3 minutes left right here. This is one of those stretches that I'm talking about where if it goes from being noticeable and aware to becoming uncomfortable, take a step back. It's okay if that left knee is falling out towards the side. Keep that breath slow and steady. Start that total body scan. What's happening with your eyebrows and your mouth? Are they relaxed? Your jaw and your neck? Your shoulders? Your back? Make sure you're relaxing your fingers and your toes. If If you find that your mind is straying, or if you find that you're just so focused on the awareness of the stretch, come back to the focus on your breath, distract yourself, but stay in the moment. Count the length of your inhale. Count the length of your exhale. And if you have some music going, just enjoy being carried away by the music that's playing. Halfway. Do that total body scan again. Notice where you can create a little extra space and then come back into your stillness. We've got about 3 to 4 more breaths left right here. Take your time, slowly, gently lift yourself up. I'm going to send my hips a little towards my heels to help me walk my hands back, and then bring that left foot back to meet with the right. Taking a moment right here in tabletop. Feel free to shake it out for a second. When you're ready, reground through that left leg. Bring your right leg forward. And remember, both sides of the body are not the same, so find what feels good for you. Maybe you're going to stay right here, nice and lifted the second time through. Maybe you're again going to work to bring your forearms to the ground. Find what feels good. Ooh. That knee can start to fall heavy towards the side, especially if you have your forearms down towards the ground. Start your total body scan. In it to win it. Focus your eyes, relax your mind, stay tuned with your breath. Final minute right here. We got a big relaxing pose coming up next. So know that I've got you. You've got this. You're worth it. Half of this is the mental battle when things become uncomfortable, when you're aware that you're in a uncomfortable situation. That you can use your breath to find a little bit more relaxation, because sometimes we find ourselves in uncomfortable situations, and you can't just leave. You can't just step back. So taking this yoga practice right here, think about how being uncomfortable right here on the mat right now, and whatever you're doing to get through it. These are the same techniques that you can use throughout your day, throughout your life, in situations where you feel uncomfortable. Great news. We made it. Take your time, lift yourself up, bring a little bit more weight into your back knee, start to send those hips back, come on up into tabletop. I want you to bring your big toes together and start to open your knees out really wide. I encourage you to bring that big bolster or pillow from your couch. Remember, we're focusing on getting some stretches on the hips. So let those big toes touch and open those knees as wide as they can. And then lower yourself down onto whatever prop you could find today. Find a nice relaxing place to put your head. And work to continue to sink your hips towards your heels. Just gonna take this off. Awesome, we've got a total of 4 minutes right here. So recenter yourself. Open those knees a little wider. Think about this kind of like a bound angle or a butterfly, but without having to bring that whole belly towards the floor. So the more that you're lifted up on a prop like I am, the gentler this is going to end up being on those hips to create this big stretch, but with support. If you have your head turned, I'll let you know when we're halfway so you can get a nice even stretch on your neck. Allow that back body to expand on your inhale and slowly, gently collapse on your exhale. If you have your head turned to one side, take your time, slowly, gently lift it up. Try to keep those hips back towards your heel and those knees spread nice and wide as we finish up our second half of our wide-legged child's pose. Really wide-legged. Take your last 2 breaths right here. And then take your time, bring your hands to the floor for a little bit of support. Press yourself up. Start to walk those knees in. We're going to move our props out of the way and just come right back up into tabletop. So as we come back into tabletop, I really want you to do your best to stack your glutes on top of your knees. We're going to keep them there, and you're going to start to walk your hands forward as we come into puppy pose. You may need to use a prop. If the floor seems really far away, you can always place your chest on a prop. You can always separate your hands a little bit further. Having your head down towards the floor is going to be a little bit easier. Stretching that chin out in front of you, especially as you get lower down towards the mat. Oof, can be a little bit harder. If this still feels too much for you, just making sure my shirt's tucked in. Remember, you don't have to adjust your costume if you're at home alone. If it feels a little too much for you, you can always sink those hips a little closer towards your heels and just enjoy another version of child's pose. Getting a big stretch in that upper back shoulder region right here. See if you can relax those feet towards the floor. Notice if you're creating any extra tension in your glutes and tension in your lower legs. We're going to spend one more minute right here. One of my favorite things about yin is when we're creating true stillness within ourselves. So that oftentimes you can notice during these postures your heartbeat. In other places you really notice your circulation a little bit more. We're just, creating stimulation, keeping that circulation. That's what helps to increase your flexibility. Take 2 more breaths. And then you can bring your hands in a little bit closer for some more support, especially if you brought a prop underneath of us. We're going to move those props out of the way. Always encourage to keep them nearby as you walk yourself forward and we come into Sphinx pose. You can open those legs nice and wide. And I got some great varieties for you here in Sphinx pose as well. There's going to be a nice option for a quad stretch. If you're feeling this a little too much in your lower back, you can always walk those elbows forward, getting more of your chest on the floor. It's going to take a lot of that lower back pressure out. We do still want to have like the lower belly, below the belly button on the mat, but if you don't feel this stretch enough, you can always bring your hands or your elbows up onto some props. Awesome. So we've already been here for about a minute. So I want to give you an option if it feels good. If you want to turn this into a quad stretch, if your lower back is feeling great, we're going to keep one elbow down. So keeping that left hand down, you're going to reach your right hand back for your right foot. And I want you to work to open that shoulder here as well. So I'm grabbing hold from the big toe side. Just working to bring that heel a little closer to the glute. Still pressing left elbow into the floor to find that lower back stretch. Take one more big inhale here. And on your exhale, carefully release. We're going to spend another minute in stillness right here in Sphinx. If you're not feeling it in that lower back, remember, come on up onto your prop right here, really pressing those elbows down. Make sure you're pressing through the elbows, not just into the hands, palms. And make sure you've created a stretch you're aware of. Unless you don't want to, if you're just hanging out, if you're just here to be here, if that feels good, you're just making some movement, that's fine too. You got to do what works for you. All right, we're coming into our last minute, so you can stay right here. I'm going to bring my right hand down towards the floor and press that elbow into the floor. Reach back, grab hold with my left hand of my left foot, opening that chest. So left shoulder coming further away from the floor, a little engagement in that back as well. Oh, a delightful stretch in that shoulder. Halfway. Remember, it's normal to feel a little shaking or trembling. That's just the sensations of the connections that you're waking up and creating right now. Take one more big inhale. On your exhale, slowly, gently release. We're going to press ourselves up one more time into tabletop. Feel free to shake it out. Keep those blocks nearby. Take your time. Turn over. Next up, we've got some reclined bound angle or butterfly. All right, so bringing the soles of your feet together. Take your time as you slowly, gently lay down on your back. If you notice that your hips are still really tight and your knees are still pointing super far up towards the ceiling, grab a prop. Find something that you can use to start to relax the outsides of your legs on. And if you don't need it, you don't have to use it, because you're working to still feel a stretch here in your hip flexors. If it feels extra tight, you can even put your hands on them. You might need to press into the backs of or the sides of your feet, into the pinky toe side, to lift yourself up, to get that lower back nice and relaxed, flat on the mat. Take a slight little tuck of your chin towards your chest. Find a place where you can enjoy that stillness. Notice if you're bringing any extra arching into your lower back to have your feet on the floor. Work to really use that exhale to relax your back on the mat. If you do notice a really big arch, think about walking your feet out, maybe just 1 extra inch, or taking the option of using a prop. If it's a pillow, if it's a block, whatever you have around that's available, a rolled up towel. Listen, I already think you're a hero. The only person you have something to prove here is to yourself, especially if you're alone in your practice, in your room today. Just be honest with yourself. A noticeable stretch. One of those hurts so good feelings. Because I want you to be able to come back tomorrow and continue to work out and feel good. Think of this class as a little active recovery. Final minute right here. Take your time and gently stretch those arms out to the side in a T and pick whichever side you'd like to go to first and just clamshell your legs together, roll onto that side, maybe even draw your knees a little closer up towards your extended hand palm as we come into a beautiful spine twist right here. You can stay a little passive in the spine twist and keep looking in the same direction of your knees, or turn your chin towards the opposite shoulder. Get your neck involved once more. Once again, work to really melt into the mat as much as possible. If you need to, if it's a little uncomfortable for you with these hips stacked, you can even place a prop between your legs right now to find the support that feels good for you. Getting that opposite shoulder on the floor is a little bit more about your body and skeletal structure. If you can't get that back shoulder on the floor, that's okay. Did you find something that felt good? Great. Use your next exhale to gently roll over onto your back. Take your time, press into your feet, roll onto your opposite hip and come to the other side. For our last posture before our final Savasana, one more spine twist. Remember, you can use that prop between your legs. You can place a block below your lowest leg. Just doing what is right for your body today. And remember, your body is different than my body. So what feels really good or looks really easy for me might not be as easy for you. And what feels really easy and open for you, again, might be a super challenge for me. So just respect whatever it was that you were able to bring to the mat for today's practice. I'm so proud of you for coming. All right, continue to move with intention. Use your next exhale to once again come onto your back. You can keep your arms extended if it feels good, or make circulation easier on your body by keeping everything in nice and close. It's final Savasana though, so if you would like to open your arms a little bit wider, open your legs a little bit wider, go for it. If you're having any discomfort in your lower back, tent your legs. We've got props nearby, so feel free to place a block under the back of your knees to just be supported right here to feel as good as you possibly can for our last 3 minutes of practice, of stillness for today. Remember that Savasana is also a posture, so if you're fidgeting with it, put it down. Come back to your stillness. If you've had your eyes open the entire practice, take this opportunity, even if you think it sounds weird or feels not natural, close your eyes. And do one more scan of your body from your head to your toes, and then from your toes back up to the tippy top of your head. Relax every last inch. As you're finishing with those total body scan, ask yourself another question. Do you feel any different? As you come here towards the end of the class, what's your breath look like? Is it easier to practice a long, slow, deep inhale and an even longer exhale? Can you lengthen the pause between breaths? Were you doing it naturally? And if you are feeling more relaxed, amazing. I hope you are. I know I am. Really take a moment to reflect upon how for the past 40 plus minutes, we've put ourselves in uncomfortable situations. We've created internal stillness, mental and physical, and we ended feeling good. How can you apply that to the everyday situations that you come in contact with? How can you find the good? You're welcome to stay here in this final Savasana for as long as continues to honor you. If you'd like to close practice up together, take your time. You can keep your eyes closed. Let's make our way back to a seated position. And when you get there, take a moment to bring your hands up to heart center with your thumb touching on your sternum. Tuck your chin towards your chest. Enjoy one more stretch on the back of your neck as you take a moment to truly thank yourself for showing up today to create that mental and physical space for your personal health and well-being. If you have any questions or concerns, you're always welcome to reach out. If you have any specific aches and pains, let me know and I will make a class for you. In the meantime, I encourage you to think good thoughts, to speak good words, to eat good to eat good foods and do good deeds, to nourish yourself from the inside and out. Bring your thumb up to your third eye, your drishti, and start to lift your eyes, nose, chin, elbows up towards the ceiling. Taking that beautiful energy and know that the light in me honors and sees the light within you. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Namaste.
You're so good today. I love you. Thanks for staying with me.